Welcome back, everybody, to Jeannie's Gap Year, where I am gathering amazing perspectives, and I wanted to share with you my 35-night, 8-state, 2-province journey, my first ever RV trip, my first ever solo RV trip. So if you haven't seen all my videos, please take a look. I have a 16 video playlist, and you can see all the exciting adventures that I did over the 35 nights. I just wanted to start out by saying that RV life can be what you make it. It can be as cheap or expensive as you want it to be, depending on how you want to spend your money. So if you've seen my first video, you know that I was involuntarily retired this year, and so I don't have a heck of a lot of money, and I definitely don't want to waste money. So I'm trying to be as frugal as possible, but I still want to partake in the excitement that each little place that I go to has. So I'm going to share with you what it cost me in 12 different categories. But before I go through the 12 categories, I just want to mention that I did not count everything that I have to pay for every month. Some of my expenses are recurring, and I definitely did not add those in. So those would include my health insurance, my truck and my RV insurance is not included, my mail forwarding service, memberships to some of the RV clubs. Some of those things are definitely not included in this video. And once you see the categories, you'll probably see why I wanted to just include those. So I'm going to break this down into the 12 categories. The first one is probably the one where you'll spend the most money, and that is lodging. So when I say lodging, there was a couple of different types of lodging that I did over the 35 nights, and so just wanted to share a few of those with you. The first, of course, is the private campgrounds, and there's a variety. Some have full hookups, some have partial hookups, some have some amenities, some have very few amenities. I did not do like the big boys, any of the KOAs or any of those things, only because they're probably a little bit more expensive than I wanted to pay. I wanted to keep my costs down. Before I started RVing, I think unrealistically I thought that I could get by with $30 a night, but that's not gonna happen. After COVID and when RVing became more popular, the campgrounds raised their prices, and those prices did not go down. So, but I tried to keep them. I don't think I paid anything more than maybe $65 or $67 may have been the most expensive that I paid. I also stayed at parks, state parks, provincial parks in Canada, a city park. I stayed at national park, and I stayed at the federal parks in Canada as well. Those are much cheaper. You're gonna find that usually they're about 20 something a night. I have, and I'm going to make a plug for the America the Beautiful Pass for national parks. If you don't have one and you plan to go to one or two this year, please get one. If you don't, it's $35 a carload, and then they start charging after so many people, and that's every day. And when you're 65 plus, you can get the lifetime pass, which I do have. I have that for a few years. And one of the nice perks that comes with that, besides free entry into the parks, is you get half price camping. So if you can get a campsite at one of the campgrounds, it's half price. I stayed at Glacier National Park for $15 a night. Very good. The other way that I camped on this trip was mooch docking. And that's, of course, when you stay with family and friends at their house and you can use their electricity or not. But I didn't stay in my apartment trailer there. I stayed in the house with my good friend that I worked with overseas, and we hadn't seen each other in many years. And so I had a really wonderful overnight with her and her family. So that was very kind of her to invite me in. The other place that I stayed is casino camping. And some casinos, it may be free, some charge a small amount, some don't have any hookups, and some have full. I stayed at one that had full hookups, and then you could walk across the street to the casino, and they had a lovely little diner where I was able to eat a couple meals. So that was my lodging. So the total cost for my lodging for the 35 nights was $1,298. Guess it's not too bad. I mean, I probably couldn't get rent for that amount for 35 nights. And I definitely, even if I had rent, I'm in one spot. I got to go to 8 states and 2 provinces. So that's not bad for $1,298. So the other biggie for travel is gas. And gas, again, depends on how frequently you're traveling and what you're traveling in. I was moving every 1 to 3 nights. I think 3 nights was the longest I stayed at a place. And so over that time period, that's a lot of movement. So, and I'm out west and in the Rockies in Canada, and it's a long distance between things. Towns are not like stacked on top of each other like on the East Coast. So there was quite a bit of driving. And I also have a truck. I guess she's a little gas guzzler, but she did pretty good. I averaged anywhere from 11 to 14 miles a gallon as I was towing, and that even included up the Rockies in Canada, so it wasn't too bad. On the highway without towing is about 22 miles a gallon. One of the nice things about my truck is I have the extended gas tank. Which is so nice, because if I did not, I would be stopping for gas every day, and this way I did not have to stop for gas every day. On the highway, I could get over 700 miles to a tank. That's without towing. So that really was a lifesaver. The gas ranged anywhere from $2.59, which I paid in Tennessee the day I was leaving, up to $3.49 is what I paid in Montana. That was the most expensive that I paid on the trip there. But Canada's gas is definitely much more expensive. You have to calculate the liters to gallons, and I did that to get my totals. But if I can recall correctly, it was probably about $6 or something a gallon. But the gas in Canada actually burned a lot better than the gas in the States. I'm not sure what they use as additives, so maybe that's what did it. But even though I was towing up the mountain, I still went longer with my tanks of gas. So anyway, so it probably equaled itself out. But the grand total for gas for the 35 nights was $1,214. So I'll just stick in one little category that didn't cost me too much, but I think people forget about the fact that you got to have clean clothes, especially when you're camping and you have a small space and you don't bring much with you, so you have to repeat stuff, even though you wear them several times. So you have to wash something every now and then. And so most private campgrounds have a laundry mat that you can pay $2-3 to wash a load of clothes. And in Canada, I ended up having to go to the public laundromat in town because the national parks didn't have that. So I paid a grand total of $43 to keep my clothes clean. Not bad. So I'll go back to another category. It's a category that I've split in two, but this is one that will definitely cost you a little bit more money, especially if you have a family. And that is food. And I love food, but I'm not a great cook, so I don't cook a lot, but I'm trying to be frugal. So my eating out category I knew was probably going to be a little bit higher than maybe other people's. I usually only eat 2 meals a day, and then I try to eat that one meal out that's at lunchtime, because that's usually when I'm out doing my sightseeing and that kind of stuff. And also, when you're in some places that are known for certain things, you got to try it. Like, I had to try the beaver tail and the poutine in Canada. You know, Pole Bridge, I had to try the pastries, those kind of things. You know, it's like that's what they're famous for, so you have to try it. And then I did eat, if I could find a fast food restaurant, because there's not a lot in some of these small towns in the West, but if I could find one, I'd eat there because that was cheaper and that's a known quantity. Or I'd do some mom and pops if I had to. If you saw my video about Banff, you'll know that I kind of fell in love with the food court there, and I ate 3 meals from the food court, and it wasn't that pricey. Canada, because of the strength of the dollar, is actually cheap right now. Gas is not, but I mean, when you reduce it for what you paid, it still is cheap. So I enjoyed my eating out. I didn't do any fancy restaurants, so I can't tell you about those. But the cost for my eating out was a grand total of $472. So groceries, as I said, I don't really cook a lot, so I was just buying basic things and things that I can use in the appliances that I can cook in. So I have a microwave, I have an air fryer, I have a propane cooktop, and I have an electric induction oven. And so between those and the fact that I actually like going in grocery stores, especially in different places, to see what they have and see if it's the same thing as I'm used to. So I kind of enjoy that. But, you know, I had bought like condiments and stuff like that before leaving, which I still included in this price. And so the food that I bought at grocery stores came out to a grand total of $259. So you got to have some fun along the way, and I think that if I had a job with a really nice paycheck coming in every month, I'd probably have a little bit more fun. But because, again, I'm being frugal, I did not do everything that probably I could do, or you might do if you're doing the same route. One of the things that you can do is hiking, and hiking is actually free. So I did a lot of walking around, I'll call it hiking, quote unquote, because, you know, it was free or included in something, excuse me, and you get to see, you know, things off the main path. So I enjoyed that. The crazy thing is that I bought these wonderful hiking sticks that I was going to use to get me up the hills, because, you know, I have this problem, I have a back problem, and I was like, this way, you know, this will put some stress off my back. And you would think I would be using them, but as many hikes as I did, every time I forgot to take them out of the truck, so they're still sitting in the new cover that they came in. I will do that one day. So I did do some like sightseeing trips, and you'll see from my 16 videos, you'll see me on the tram going up the mountain. I did a few museums and even went to the casino. So that cost me a grand total of $161. So a couple other categories. One was supplies, and supplies is just things for the house. You know, if I needed household things or some toiletries, that kind of stuff. That was what I threw into that category of supplies, and that came out to be a grand total of $146. So the next category is souvenirs. So, you know, after entertainment, and you get someplace, it's the first time you've been there, and you see all these wonderful gift stores, as they have them everywhere, souvenir shops, and there's so many interesting, exciting things, and I had to be very disciplined because I wanted so many things. But I was like, you don't have the money, and where are you going to put it, because you're in a small little trailer, and your truck's already full to the brim as well, so you can't do everything. So I actually did buy a couple t-shirts. I think I bought 3 t-shirts for myself. And then I did buy gifts for family and friends, and, you know, some fun stuff, arts and craftsy kind of thingy, and food products like huckleberry jam and honey, this and that. So I just could not resist. So anyway, my souvenirs came out to be a grand total of $217. So the next couple of categories involves the RV and the truck. The first one is car wash. I may have mentioned in some of my videos that there's been a lot of road construction everywhere I've gone. There was one stretch of road, I'm not sure where I was, maybe Montana, where they had torn up about 20 miles of road. It was dirt. They pat it down with water, and then when you roll through it, it's mud. And even though you're going 10, 15 miles an hour, I had mud everywhere. It's all under my undercarriage for both vehicles. I splashed all on the front of the thingy. It's like I haven't been able to do the undercarriage wash yet, but I've managed, to wash the truck and the car. I think a grand total of 4 times, maybe 5 for the truck. The nice thing about out west was that, is that they have large bays in their car wash areas to wash RVs or trucks or whatever, and that was so nice because I didn't have to worry about can it fit in there. The only thing I had to worry about is, when I'm coming out, is there room for me to maneuver to get out of there? And I would investigate that before I took the trailer in. So I was lucky to be able to wash it 4 times to get off that. And I went through a couple of bug swarms. Woo! They just plastered all over everything. I don't even know what kind of bugs they were, but anyway, I was able to get all that stuff off. I'd never washed a truck so many times, but I did. And then having a black truck doesn't help either. It shows the dirt so much. So the grand total of car wash was $61. So the next category is auto repair. If you saw my video from Minnesota, I had a problem with my camera radio. It just kind of went black, and it's like I've got to have a backup camera. I can't see how to put this thing back there because I don't have a person to tell me where I'm going. And so I found a Ford dealership there, they did a diagnostic, said I needed a part that they didn't have. It was going to cost over $1,000. And I was like, okay, I can't do that. Just, can you get it working right now? They got it working right now. And so far, knock on wood, it's still working. But I had to pay $169 for that diagnostic. And then I bought some other supplies when my engine light came on and that kind of stuff. So the grand total for auto repairs was $247. Could be worse, so I'm happy about that. Parking, I didn't really have to have a problem with that. I don't know if I just didn't go places where I needed to pay for parking. It was just always some free parking or whatever, or I avoided them. I'm not sure, but I ended up paying for parking $14. My last category of the 12 is other. That's that catch-all thingy. I probably can't remember everything I threw in there, but I do know that one of those was my thrifty shopping. I love thrift shopping and estate sale shopping. But anyway, I did thrifty shopping because I did need some more sheets to go on my bed, so was able to get a couple sets there. And the other thing that went in this category is I wanted to get an unlimited SIM card for my internet in Canada, and actually bought one and realized that my phone was not compatible with eSIM. It was too old, so be careful if you do that. If you have an old phone, it may not work. So I couldn't use that, so then I had to pay T-Mobile for some service that cost me $50. It was very limited, and I unfortunately used it up in 3 days. I needed like 12 days. And so so then anyway, so that's what happened. So eSIM if you can do it. So the grand total for this other category was $94. So now my grand total, and the grand total for this is my lodging, my gas, my laundry, my eating out, my groceries, entertainment, souvenirs, supplies, car washes, auto repair, parking, and other category for 35 nights on the road, 8 states, 2 provinces, and the grand total is $4,226. In my head before I left, I was seeing something like 2,000. I don't know why my head was all off. I guess I was not being realistic at all. And I see how I can save money now, with lodging and gas. So that will come down every month or so, will not be $4,226. But considering what I did and what I saw, not too bad, because I broke it down even further. So it averaged out to $121 a night. And lodging by itself was $37 a night. Now, I first said I wanted to keep my lodging at $30 or below. So I'm just a little bit over, so that's not too bad. $37 compared to $30 and $121 a night. But to kind of put this in some better perspective, I wanted to compare this with other ways that you might spend that 35 nights. So the first one that I kind of compared it with is mortgage. If you have a house, nowadays houses are $400,000. I think the average house is $300 something thousand. So I just said if you have a mortgage that's $3,000 a month, then you're paying $100 a night for lodging. That doesn't include anything else. There's no other categories but lodging. So my lodging was $37 a night. So it beats that. So if you're pay rent, and again, rent varies depending on where you are. It's very few places you can get any rent around $1,000. But I just said, okay, I'm going to pick $2,000 as, you know, if you're paying rent at that amount. And that comes out to $67 a night, lodging only. Mine, again, is $37 a night lodging. The next category is the one that you'd probably be doing if you don't RV and if you like to travel, is hotels. And hotels, again, are one of those things that when COVID came, the prices spiked, they never came down, and then the service got worse. And I think I don't know if I've mentioned or not, but I used to travel for work. I have been at the top of whatever their gold, ambassador, whatever levels, the top level for Hilton, Marriott, and IHG. So I have been at those hotels prior to COVID, after COVID, and even those nice places, the quality of service has decreased, but the price has increased. So I just said conservatively, and if you can get a hotel for this amount, that's cool. Probably not too many at a tourist location, but I just picked $150 a night. If you're at a tourist place, it's going to be more than that. I know that I wanted to stay in Yosemite, and even in kind of the shoulder season, it was going to be almost $300 a night. Key West is $500, and so yeah. So $150 is cheap. I don't know, probably too cheap. So anyway, so you're paying $150 a night. I paid $37. So the next, the last category I'll compare it to is one that may be the closest to RVing, and that's cruising. And I rediscovered cruising last year. I did my first cruise I hadn't done one in 30 years at least, and went to Alaska. Loved it, and then I booked a couple months later. I booked myself to go on a Caribbean cruise, and then I went on a 11-night Panama transit cruise, and enjoyed it so much. They're inclusive. Everything's included, so you don't have to worry about any of that. So I just conservatively said if you did a 7-night cruise at $1,400, now you can get them cheaper and you can get them more expensive depending on the season and where you're going and the ship. But just say $1,400, that is $200 a night. But that's all inclusive. I could not break down lodging, of course, because it's all inclusive. So if I compare this $200 a night all inclusive to my $121 a night that I paid for my RVing, you see I still saved some money with the RVing at $121 a night versus the cruise. But the cruise is probably the closest, and then if you've got cheaper rent, but then again, if you've got rent, you still got to pay for a hotel if you go somewhere. So anyway, so that is my 12 categories, my expenses for my 35-night trip, my first journey. I've learned a lot along the way. I think I will definitely save money, and if you like my content, please let me know. Put it in the comments. Hit the like button. I can do more budget videos later of where I'm at. I am somewhere stationary for about 2.5 months out in the desert, and then I will go make my way back to the East Coast, and I'll go on the southern route where I'll hit like Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, those kind of places, and see some more adventures there. So please let me know again if you like this, if you'd rather see something else. Maybe I can incorporate it in some of the videos that I do. Please go back and watch my 16 video playlist and subscribe to this channel. So thank you so much. I appreciate your listening to me and learning about my adventures, and maybe we'll meet on the road. If you ever see a rig out there that says Jeannie's Gap Year on the back, that's me, and stop and say hello. So anyway, take care. See you on the road.